I replayed the moment again. Not because I expected it to change, and not because I believed there was something new to discover. I already knew how it ended. Still, I returned to it. The moment was clear in my mind. Unremarkable on the surface. Nothing dramatic about it. A pause. A glance. A space that opened briefly, and then closed. I remembered it exactly as it happened. Or at least, I thought I did. Each time I replayed it, the details felt sharper. The way the room sounded. The exact position of my hands. The moment when I almost spoke. I replayed the timing first. If I had spoken a second earlier, if I had moved just slightly faster, if I hadn't waited for the pause to feel complete, the scene adjusted itself in my head, testing small changes that never actually occurred. I watched the moment unfold, as if it were still available to me. But it wasn't. The replay didn't reopen it. It only confirmed how quickly it had passed. I noticed how calm everything looked from the outside. No one hesitated. No one seemed unsure. Conversation flowed naturally, as if nothing had been withheld. That was what made the moment easy to miss. It didn't announce itself as important. It looked ordinary. That's why I replayed it, because ordinary moments are the ones we assume will give us another chance. I replayed the moment again, this time focusing on myself, the way I stayed still, the way I waited. I told myself I was being careful, that I was choosing precision over speed. The words were ready. I knew that, but I wanted them to arrive, without friction. I didn't want them to interrupt what was already moving smoothly. So I waited. In the replay, I paused the scene there, right before the moment closed. I watched myself hesitate, not out of fear, but out of calculation. I wanted the timing to be right. But timing doesn't pause just because you're paying attention. The replay continued. Someone else spoke. The rhythm returned. The opening disappeared. I replayed the moment again. This time, I imagined speaking anyway, stepping into the pause before it fully closed. In my head, the words landed cleanly. They didn't disrupt anything. They didn't require explanation. The room adjusted easily. It worked. But imagination is generous. Reality is not obligated to follow it. I knew that version had never happened. The actual moment had moved on. I replayed the moment again, trying to locate the exact point where it shifted. Not when I stayed quiet, but when staying quiet became final. There was no clear line, no obvious mistake. The moment didn't end abruptly. It dissolved. It blended into what came next, without resistance. That made it harder to accept. There was nothing to blame. No interruption. No rejection. Just continuation. I replayed the moment again because it felt unfinished. Not unresolved. Unfinished. As if something had been left mid-sentence. Even though no sentence had been spoken, the replay didn't provide answers. It only reinforced the same awareness that the moment had required presence, not reflection. And reflection had arrived too late. I replayed the moment again, in quieter spaces. At night, in between unrelated thoughts, it surfaced without invitation. Not demanding attention, just appearing. I noticed how little it changed with repetition. The same pause, the same hesitation, the same outcome. Each replay confirmed that there had been no dramatic turning point, only a small delay that had quietly become permanent. I realized then that replaying a moment is a way of holding it still after it has already moved on. It doesn't bring it back. It just keeps you close to where it used to be. The world doesn't replay moments. It continues. And while I was replaying, everything else moved forward. New conversations formed. New moments appeared. But this one stayed with me because it hadn't been entered. It existed only as potential. And potential has a way of lingering longer than action. I replayed the moment again because I wanted to understand why it stayed. Why this pause, out of so many others, refused to fade. I realized it wasn't about the words. It was about timing. About the brief alignment of space, attention, and presence. That alignment had existed for only a moment, and I had watched it pass. Replaying didn't change that. It only clarified how precise the timing had been, how narrow the opening was. I replayed the moment again, until I understood something quietly, that the replay itself was not about correction. It was about recognition. I was acknowledging that the moment had mattered. Even if I hadn't acted, even if no one else noticed, the replay was the only place where the moment still existed, not as it was, but as it could have been. I replayed the moment again, knowing it would end the same way, knowing it would not resolve. And eventually, I stopped expecting it to. The replay didn't need closure. It only needed to be seen for what it was, a moment that had passed, exactly as it was meant to, without interruption, without revision. I replayed the moment again, one last time, not to change it, not to fix it, just to let it exist, without trying to enter it. And then quietly, I let it stay where it belonged, in the past, unchanged, unresolved, complete without me.